Now, I really want us to move into this whole graduate, young person in the organization, this whole conundrum that we have. We bring them in, we mean well, we try and foster them, and then there's just this big blow up. So I wanted to ask you, what are we doing wrong? Do you think we have the wrong expectations? What do we do wrong? Because we bring them in and we give them all this wonderful training, so we're bestowing things on them, but things don't always go the way they should.
So, and I'll speak from my observations, at least in the last 10 years, where I've really been actively involved in this space. So on the one hand, it goes back to, I think, what we'd spoken about, the expectation of just the plug and play. But also, as sad as this is the vision. So when I look at entities who've got it right, their vision for the individual, they have a vision before the individual comes in. It's not because, I'm scared, I'm trading here very carefully. There's a lot of incentives from government, whether be it in terms of the BEE score and different skills development legislation. So those who really operate beyond compliance and really see the value of building talent and building their own timber, those are the ones that get the best out of the young people. And then there's been those where it's just an opportunity to, I don't know, get a relatively cheap resource, or and again it goes back, so depending on the vision, because then the vision would then articulate the different input. Because I sit, for example, in a learning and development environment, but I'm not there intimately on a day-to-day with what this young person is doing, and I can carry the stick or whatever, or the carrot, we co-design a program, all of that. But ultimately what happens on the ground is really informed by the vision that, because and one of the mistakes when I started in this, I would ask everybody, who wants an intern? I don't it's one of the questions I don't ask anymore, because
yes,
who doesn't want one?
And I mean, is it fair to them that we have this plug and play requirement of them? Given that, yes, they've got a lot of academic learning potentially, especially as graduate interns, but they've never lived it.
Yes. I don't think it's fair. And the irony is, if you look at, I'm now a seasoned professional. If, for example, for me, let's say I would, for me to be a manager, generally there would be a roadmap, some kind of transition planned for me, and even coaching support beyond that. And so when we've put in, even somebody who's a senior manager, they become an exec, or and even individuals who sit on boards and represent the company, we have so much development and a plan for them. And again, it's because of the vision, I guess, the entity has, but also the value that they see. And then why should it be different with the young person? Because the only difference between them and the manager who's now going into the C-suite is that it's also a transition. So I don't think even the expectation is fair, or even, and I'm even wondering I still wonder, where does it come from? Because when I was, I've had a chat with a lot of senior professionals, some who are about to retire, some who are like, in our time, we didn't even have internships, you just got there. And so, I don't think it's a fair expectation ultimately.
How can we change that, do you think?
I think ultimately we can change that one by, and I've seen this again where it's worked well, from senior business leaders really buying into the vision firstly, or seeing the value of developing or your own talent, or just seeing the value of it, and beyond, and seeing them the long-term, also how it impacts the long-term sustainability, not only of a company, but the economy, the environment that we are in, and them sponsoring it and ultimately advocating for it. Because the truth is, yeah, whether we like it or not, them setting that tone has a profound impact. And I have seen in environments where if there's an executive who is sponsoring a program or whatever, like, yeah, so it really is a lot of more business leaders and senior leaders borrowing their name to really advocate for these programs. I really think it would help. Yeah, it would ultimately, I think it would yield a different outcome than some of the unfortunate outcomes I've seen, at least in my career.
I want to speak to you about work readiness. And I think that a lot of people have a lot of ideas about what it is. What's your take on it? I'm sure that work readiness in general is a good idea. What's the thing we're missing that actually gets people prepared for work?
In the same way, like when I think about it in terms of working on the job, that is work readiness on the job, being able to go from going back to when we started the conversation. I had started here not knowing even where I belong, just the basic etiquette. I didn't have that. But me learning and transitioning and that feedback process and moving from, mediocre to good to great to greater, all of that, that entire process is work readiness and is readying you to be the professional that ultimately, when you exit, you are then able to perform as a professional and be, whether it's a council that recognizes you as a professional, that entire process is work readiness. And yeah, and I think probably that's why I have an issue with work readiness programs.
Yes, I hear
Like,
you. I hear you.
Work will ready you for work.
I love that concept. I must say, it reminds me of is it the Lotto slogan that says, you've got to be in it to win it?
Yes.
It doesn't help you from the outside watching.
That.
You've got to be in it to win it. Okay,
Indeed.
Wonderful. So when we spoke earlier about how do we close this gap, we spoke about us as leaders, as seniors, as mentors, are we dealing with it right? But I often wonder, do we really get the younger generations and the generations that are coming to start work right now? So I was wondering, is there a message or two, three that you think they'd like us to get? If they could sit us down and go, okay, adults or old adults, here it is. This is what you're not getting. What is that stuff that we're not getting?
I remember I'd also just struggled with this, but and just from a few conversations that I've had between Monday and today, a lot of them it goes back to just at least wanting to be heard. A lot of them really just want to be heard beyond the what we must do. They want to be heard. And for me, that's one of the things that really came through strongly. And even earlier today, I was speaking to another young person, and it even just dawned on me that hear them, not see them, not perceive, not preconceive, not discard your research for a second and really just hear the individual. And and I think I was taken a little bit aback by that, in that actually, whether you're Gen Z or a millennial or wherever you are, that it is so profound, so simple, yet, well, I don't know, it's simple, but obviously not very easy to practice. I think that's one of the things that strongly came through for me.
And isn't it an irony that I'm not sure that any of us ever, at any point in our lives, go, oh, it's okay, people aren't paying attention to me, they're not listening to me, they're not taking me seriously, oh, that's fine. right? So they're not really asking us to do something that we wouldn't expect from someone else.
Yeah, but obviously, I think for the ask to be there, I think for the ask or even the requirement to be there, it is pointing to, I guess, a gap, a blind spot, because it wouldn't be, yeah. And I guess it calls all of us to reflect.
What do you think is the impact of emotional intelligence on how we work with our youth?
I think it's absolutely critical. I think it is critical. It is vital. It is essential. It's right there next to oxygen, for youth and even beyond. And for a long time, I used to even just get emotional. I have a background in psychology, and that, like it's almost considered a soft skill when it's actually one of the hardest skills. So it is absolutely essential. It is critical. Like, yeah, because with emotional, even the current cry, what I mentioned, the hearing, it speaks to that. It speaks to that, and so many other values underneath that.
Nokuthula, I wanted to ask you something that I learned from you, and I want to thank you for that. And I was hoping that you would tell the viewers a little bit about working out loud. Is it Steve? What's his surname, Steve?
I think Steve Stepper or something like that. Please,
Yeah.
Okay, this is where the Shobi English comes in. Whatever, but yes, I'd actually watched a TED talk of his, and after that, I just went into this rabbit hole of finding everything. And yes, also it's been quite a challenge. It took forever to try and get the book in South Africa through Amazon. Most of the major bookstores didn't have it. But okay, coming back to working out loud. So I'd watched his TED talk, and basically for me, what it gave me freedom, but it also gave me permission to celebrate what it is that I'm doing right, and going back to how I was socialized, and also how a lot of at least girl children are socialized, in that I can recognize another person's accomplishments, but mine, I must be conservative about it. I can't be the bossy girl, be all of that. So when he just articulated it, that the truth is we all need to work out loud, and that means celebrating what it is that you are doing right, and even in your proverbial little corner, what difference you are making. And he shared in his talk, he'd even shared a number of individuals and the impact working out loud has had. And ultimately, that was about 3 years ago, and I was already in the space. It gave me permission to, have a YouTube channel, be more present on LinkedIn. And it has had such a profound impact in that, there's certain things that would just absolutely hurt me, in the sense that I'm like, I wish someone would tell this young person, or, I'd see myself in them, and I wish I could do something. And having come across that, the catalyst was his podcast, was the TED Talk. And it really gave me permission to work out loud, to take, borrowing Miss Universe's words, take up space, in terms of who I'm called to impact, and not feel any shame or have any funny guilt. Like, it really just set me free, took all of those shackles that had held me.
I watched, and it's such an irony, because I went from full-time employment to an entrepreneur. And it is so interesting how working out loud contains so many of the steps that I had to change in my life becoming an entrepreneur. Because, when you work for a large business, you don't always promote yourself. You're not forever telling people
Yes.
what you do. You're not ever connecting with your own brand and that kind of stuff. I really wanted to thank you for letting me know about that. And for those people who are interested, I will put the link to the TED Talk into the session notes for this Coffee Companion series, because I really loved what he had to say. And it's really interesting in that I didn't find anything that he said incredibly difficult to do. It's just about someone has to put your awareness and tell you, now just do it, you know?
Yes, permission. It just gave, I think it gave all of us permission, and it removed, for me, it was like, after that 18 minutes, and here I am today, and I don't know what would have happened had I never watched that talk. So I'm grateful it found me.
That is brilliant. I'm so glad for that. So Nokuthula, thank you so much for your time. But before we go, I have an interesting mug. It was given to me by a client of mine. It also happens from the South African College of Applied Psychology, where I did my coaching work. I see you've also got an interesting mug. I love them too. If I could, I'd just carry on studying forever. What's on your mug?
So on my mug, it is actually a scripture. So I'm at a friend's house, so I borrowed a mug that would match my shirt. But yes, it says, "Oh, come, let us adore Him." So for me, that's what's on my mug. And yes, and indeed, it's just about, for me, it's about celebrating my Creator.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Tell us a bit about Me Developing Me.
Yes, Me Developing Me, yes, it is a brand that was born out of the courage to work out loud. And it really is a platform where I share a lot of career development content. A lot of it is targeted at the youth or the entry-level professional. And so I'm available on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as and then professionally Nokuthula Chonco on LinkedIn. But it really is a place where I can truly work out loud. I don't have to write a paper, a motivation, fight with marketing about branding, and they're also doing their job. It really is a space where I can live my brand, and it's just about taking ownership.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've taught us today. Thank you for helping us to take that step closer to our youth and how we work with them. And thank you for showing us old fogies that sometimes we have to redirect. Sometimes we are, the pebble that's in the path or the boulder that's in the path. And I look forward to speaking to you soon and hearing how things are going at Me Developing Me. And I really appreciate your time.
Yes, I look forward to connecting with you too and your community soon.
Well, everyone, again, what a lovely visit with Nokuthula. She was, I met her by chance, but I'm ever so happy that she is a skills development facilitator and that she came across my path. It's so lovely to get a different perspective on our youth. It's so easy for everyone just to go, oh, they're not good enough. They're not working hard enough. They're not enough of whatever we want them to be. And to remember that we can help them build to whatever they think is enough, not what we think is enough. So thank you again to Nokuthula for her time and her energy and her vibrance. And I will see you then next week, Tuesday, at the next solo. I'm already lining up our next coffee companion for us. And as always, if you would like to see more of us, please go to YouTube, like and subscribe, and then click on the notification bell because, it'll let you know when the next content is available for you to enjoy. And if you're following us on LinkedIn and Facebook, we are so pleased to have you there. Please like, share, comment, and then go to YouTube and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you at the next performance.